intern. Okay. Cliff is our graduate intern. He is an alumnus of Guilford College in Greensboro, North Carolina. He's currently at UNCG, and his program of study is public history. He will be leaving. He'll be graduating in the end of the semester. And his goal is to become a museum curator and eventually a college professor. So we wish him all the luck with his career, but he's been a tremendous help to us. So Cliff, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you. Everybody, please mute your mics.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. So I'll be giving a presentation today about the Buffalo Soldiers, and in specific, Private John Hickman, who is buried at the Oddfellows Cemetery. So Private Hickman was born in 1893 and enlisted in the United States Army in 1914. He reached the rank of Private First Class and belonged to Troop F of the 10th Cavalry, also known as the Buffalo Soldiers. And he was honorably discharged in 1920. Private Hickman lived in Winston-Salem with his mother, Mary, and stepfather, John Layman. Private Hickman was an auto mechanic and owned his own auto repair shop, and he died in 1967 in Durham, North Carolina. As I mentioned earlier, he was brought back to Winston-Salem and buried at the Oddfellows Cemetery. So I'd like to give a little bit of background information on the Buffalo Soldiers and who they were and some of the things that they did throughout their time as a military institution. So the Buffalo Soldiers were created by an act of Congress in 1866. This act created 6 all-black peacetime regiments, and these 6 were later consolidated to the 4 you see on the screen in front of you, the 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 24th and 25th Infantry, and they would eventually become known as the Buffalo Soldiers. At the time of their establishment, they were comprised primarily of former slaves, freemen, and black Civil War soldiers. There are a couple of different theories as to how they were given their name. One of those theories is that the Plains Native Americans believed that their hair resembled the dark curly hair of buffalo fur. And the second is that their ferocity and bravery on the battlefield reminded the Native Americans of the buffalo. So it was actually given as a sign of respect in this way. So some of the duties and roles of the Buffalo Soldiers throughout the years. Initially, their main duties were to support the nation's westward expansion by protecting settlements, building roads and other infrastructure, as well as guarding the U.S. mail. Buffalo Soldiers served in a variety of different posts throughout the Southwest and Great Plains, and they took part in most of the military campaigns, including the Indian Wars. At this time, 18 Buffalo Soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor, and that level of exceptionalism paved the way for overcoming the resistance to the idea of black army officers as well as black soldiers fighting in normal combat. And I'll get into more of that later on in the presentation. But another role is guarding national parks. So some Buffalo Soldiers served as the nation's first park rangers when the United States Army served as the official administrator of parks like Yosemite and Sequoia National Parks. This would have been between 1891 and 1913. They oversaw things like park construction, they protected parks from illegal grazing, poaching, timber thieves, and wildfires, and things of this sort. So on the screen here is the 24th Infantry on mounted patrol of Yosemite National Park. So next I'll speak a little bit about the Buffalo Soldiers' involvement in World War I, as this was a time that Private Hickman would have been most active. So, as mentioned earlier, the Buffalo Soldiers played significant roles in several military campaigns. Unfortunately, due to the racist policies of the time, black regiments were excluded from the American Expeditionary Force, or AEF. So the AEF were the forces that the American government sent to aid in the war effort. So during World War I, the 9th Cavalry, as you see on the screen, was already dispatched to the Philippines due to the Philippine-American War. So that war raged from 1899 to 1902 and continued until 1913. The 10th Cavalry, which is the group that Private Hickman belonged to, was patrolling the United States and Mexico border, and the 24th Infantry was also located on the border patrolling. The 25th at the time was stationed in Hawaii, and the 25th was actually doing more, serving more in the park ranger way of things. So essentially, they were guarding trails, building infrastructure there for national parks. None of the regular Army Buffalo Soldiers ever saw combat as part of the American Expeditionary Force in France during World War One. So and eventually there would be a need for more soldiers, more manpower, and this is where we get the later formations of Buffalo Soldiers. So I'll talk about that now. So the United States organized two different divisions of segregated men. So the first was the 92nd Division, known as the Buffalo Soldiers. So most of this company would see battle in France, whereas the 93rd, known as the Blue Helmets, would see full combat in France. So this has just been a little bit of how the Buffalo Soldiers performed during various points in their history. They were formally disbanded later on. I believe it's the 1950s, but it's been a brief history of the Buffalo Soldiers. Thank you. Ms. Stark, did you want to speak a little bit to these upcoming events?
Okay, I will. And I did have a question also about the Blue Helmets. I believe you said at one point that France did give the Buffalo Soldiers military awards. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. They received some of the highest orders. I can't remember the English name for the award, but I believe it's the award of the Guarded Cross. I think it's something along those lines, but they received that for their performance there because due to racism, just to put it plainly, they wouldn't have black soldiers in the American army. So they placed the black companies that would be in France under the control of the French government. So this is the first time this was done in American history where American soldiers are placed under the care of a foreign power.
Right. Okay. So we wanted to share with everybody a little bit about Oddfellows as well. We do have monthly work days. As I said, we are working to restore the cemetery. It is certainly not complete, but we've made a lot of progress. So we're there every third Saturday of the month from 9:30 in the morning until 12 noon. James Clyburn is our president. And if you or a group of people that you know would love to come out and help us clean, you can certainly email me. Now, today we talked about Private Hickman, who was a Buffalo Soldier. Our next webinar will be on Saturday, February 26th, also at 2 p.m. And we have information about a Tuskegee Airman. So we'll talk about him next time. And then our last one will be March the 5th, again at 2 p.m. We will talk about a veteran who served in the Spanish-American War. And we actually have one of his descendants. So I'm hoping that we can invite her and she can give us a little personal information on this veteran of the Spanish-American War. We will open to questions in just a minute. I see that Mr. Wilkinson is here, who is the president of one of our regional chapters of the Buffalo Soldiers. Mr. Wilkinson, did you want to say a word or two at this time?
I think the young man did a very good job of giving our history. And thank you for inviting me.
Did you want to say anything about your chapter meetings or whether or not you're recruiting new Buffalo Soldier members?
Right now, we are recruiting new members, but due to the pandemic, we are not doing meetings. So I couldn't give much information on that at this time.
Okay, so if anyone is interested or wants more information, they can email me and I will be happy to forward that to you. I'm not sure that Mr. Clyburn is on the call. Mr. Clyburn, are you on? Would you like to give some closing remarks? Okay, he may not be on at this time. Well, at this time, we can open up to any questions. We don't have any questions in the chat right now, but if you have questions or if you have comments, questions about the cemetery, And I see several people who are from out of town who have either loved ones buried there or you've been volunteering. Would any of you folks like to comment? We'd be happy to hear from you because we don't get to see you very often.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jody.
When was the last person laid to rest in Oddfellows?
As you know, we're historic and not commercial anymore. The last person was Henry Stepp. And the reason that that would have been 2007, I believe. The reason that Henry asked to be buried there is because his family plot was there. And if you did not know that, thank you, Delsra. If you did not know Henry Stepp, you may have known his family, the W.P. Hairston family, who was a very well-known family and associated with Winston Mutual Life Insurance Company. So he was the last one buried there, and the Hairston plot is a huge plot. So he was the last one. I see also that our Mayor Pro Tem, Representative Dee Dee Adams is on the call. The Oddfellows is in her district. So Representative Adams, would you like to comment or have any questions for us? We're glad to see you on the call.
No, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have any questions or anything. I just want to thank you all for everything that you do and all the work you put in at the cemetery and other things throughout the community. When I first got involved with the Oddfellows, right after I got elected in 2009, the cemetery was just being worked on by all of you. And again, you guys have done such a tremendous job. Can't thank you enough. Just as always, if you need me, call me, because there may be, and I don't know, they just changed the final rules of ARPA. There may be some money somewhere for Oddfellows group in the important work that you do.
Thank you. Well, we're glad to hear that. So we will definitely contact you. And I did just want to say thank you very much during the recent, which could have been a terrible catastrophe, the Weaver fire. So I know you were very involved in that, and we thank you for that. Any of our other out-of-towners have a comment? I thought I saw the Stocktons represented. Is Lisa still on?
I'm still on, Linda. Hello.
Would you like to say something? We certainly would be happy to hear from you. Lisa and her family, I believe Lisa's from Charlotte, living in Charlotte, but we do have a lot of her family volunteers who have come out to work and do the elbow grease and get down in the weeds, so to speak. Would you like to talk about your experience with Oddfellows?
Yes, I've got several cousins and a daughter of mine to come out and work. And the reason we connected with them is because in doing some history work with my ancestors, I discovered that they came from England to New Jersey to Kernersville to Winston-Salem, and that my great-great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather were slaveholders. And so one of the enslaved persons, I traced her descendants to Oddfellows. And so we decided we wanted to come and help restore the cemetery.
Can you share how you found that headstone? Because I'm still mad about that.
I came and Linda gave me a tour, a wonderful tour. And I kind of spotted this headstone and had a feeling about it. And I trudged through the weeds and discovered that that was the headstone for the families descended from a freed enslaved woman, formerly enslaved woman who was freed. Her name was Nisi Stockton. And I found one of her daughters, Laura, and then Laura's daughters. And so that family has a headstone there. And so we trudged through the weeds and I was like, look, Eureka, we found it.
And we were actually cleaning up the Hairston plot at the time.
Yes.
And if you turned around from the Hairston plot, there it was. So it was quite coincidental, but it was really kind of exciting.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you, Linda.
Any other questions or comments? And I see that Greg said one of the slides on the soldiers in Hawaii has a written graphic overlaid the photo. Okay. Any other questions?
Linda,
Yes.
I would like to ask Mr. Whitfield to tell us a little bit more about his research, how he found this information. The other thing I'd like to know, and maybe you said it and I missed it, but it's I believe you called it Private Hickman. Are any of his family members still living in Winston-Salem or Forsyth County?
I'm not sure if he has any living relatives currently. I'm still working on researching. I want to flesh it out a little more because I'm working on a website for the cemetery. So I'm going to hopefully upload all of this information about notable burials and events and things like that. Could you repeat your first question?
Could you tell us a little bit more about how you went about your research, how you,
Sure.
Where you went to get the information and kind of your journey and getting all this together to make a presentation to us today, which you did very well.
Thank you. So I started just reading. I started reading up on it. I went to the university's library and checked out a bunch of books about the Buffalo Soldiers, and I just started reading, just taking notes. I did some work with Ancestry.com trying to figure out if he had any descendants. I couldn't come up with anything, but I want to keep searching. But those are my main points of research.
And we did have a little bit of information, again, by just going to Ancestry.com or FamilySearch.com and looking at census list. And that's how we found out that he had a auto repair shop. And apparently he never married because in the 1930 census, he was a grown man, of course. The war was over, but he was living with his mother and stepfather. So we made the assumption that he never married. He must have been single. But a lot of this information you can get from just ancestry sites, census records, discharge papers, etc. We do have on our next program, February 26th, we do have more information on the Tuskegee Airmen because he's listed in the official Tuskegee Airmen museums. And of course, they pulled a lot of information. And there's really an exciting surprise with him, which I won't reveal now. But because of that, he was a little bit more famous than, say, other people. So we will get into that on the 26th. Anything else? And I thought I saw James' name. James, Mr. Clyburn, are you on yet? Mr. Clyburn, are you there? And I see that we have a little note from Mr. Athula Barron. And I have to say that her family is buried there as well. Her older family members, her grandparents. And Dathula Barron's father was Walter Barron Sr., who had a very well-known, was it Shell Oil, Dot? It was Barron Oil. And so in the days of oil furnaces, he delivered oil to all of the customers in Winston-Salem. Dathula, if you're there, would you like to say something about your dad?
Yeah, this is Dathula. Yeah, my dad and my mother are buried at Evergreen, but my grandparents, Charles and Eva Barron, are buried over there at Odd Fellows. I'm sorry. My brain just had a senior moment. Yeah, and so Linda was really kind enough last time I was over there, which has been over a year ago, and I apologize. But yeah, she was able to show me where my grandparents were buried, and That was really helpful because I hadn't seen their burial plot since I was a little girl. They passed when I was very, very young. But I plan to go back over there so we can find my maternal granddad, because he's over there as well.
And again, just for people who may not know, the cemetery is not laid out in a grid, and there's a nice directory where you can come and alphabetically look for everyone. We had nothing to start out with. Someone from the Forsyth Genealogy Society was wonderful and generous enough to give us a directory of all of the names that he had been able to find. We have 3 books. There are about a total of 200 plus pages. So we do have a directory, an alphabetical directory, but we don't know where the people are. We have their name, their date of birth, and their date of death. That's all that we have. And as we go along, people will sometimes donate death certificates to us. We'll put that in the directory as well. Lisa was able to give us several death certificates. I think Jody gave us some as well. But we have supporters and we have people who are interested as far as Atlanta, Georgia, in the Northeast, in New England. So everyone is welcome to come out. Has to be by appointment because we don't have a staff. We don't have a gatekeeper. We have to, let you in when someone is there. But everyone is invited to come and take a look. Periodically, we do tours. Our next tour will probably be in May during Preservation Month. So if there are any other questions or comments.
Ms. Stark and Madam Mayor, I
Yes,
apologize for not recognizing you all early. I heard you, but I'm at work today, so I'm multitasking.
You're working on Saturday?
Yes, we had a diversity weekend where we're trying to get interested medical students to come and do our residency and fellowship programs.
Okay. And Ms. Johnson is going to be the facilitator 2 weeks from now on the 26th, talking about the Tuskegee Airmen. Okay.
Hello, Linda and everyone else. I'm actually speaking under the picture of my wife, Anita Justice, who owns a business, Dignity Justified. Good afternoon, everybody. Great presentation. Kudos to the young man, Mr. Whitfield, and kudos to you, Linda. Of course, we first met many years ago when you, I, and Mr. Stepp did a radio program on WSNC when I was hosting that program, and at that time helped get the word out about Oddfellows. So kudos for the continued support and hard work that you and your team are doing. I'm going to make sure that I share with members of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce, of which I am president, about Oddfellows, because there's certainly some opportunities once people know about Oddfellows for us to volunteer, and perhaps we can collaborate more closely to support what you're doing and you support what the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce is doing. Now, I'm saying all of that to ask this question. When did Oddfellows actually become a cemetery there where it is now? Do we know when it was actually formed and who decided to form it?
Yes, we do have that information. I don't want to hog the airwaves. Deltra, do you want to speak to that? Is Deltra there?
You're good, Linda. Keep going.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
And that was Calvin Patterson. Thank you so much for commenting on that. And we were certainly, in fact, you were, I think, one of the first publicity locations that we got. So we were very happy when you asked us to come and talk on your radio station. We really appreciated that. But we believe that it was founded in the early 1900s. I've heard 1904, I've heard 1911. and it was founded by two of the fraternal organizations of the Odd Fellows, the Twin City Lodge and the Winston Star Lodge. For those of you who may not know, back in that day and time, Winston-Salem was segregated. So there was a white Odd Fellows organization, but the African-American brothers could not join that. So they petitioned the, I guess, national headquarters, and they became charter members. They started their own charter specifically for the burial of their young loved ones, because as you know, the cemeteries were segregated. And if you didn't belong to a specific church, the churches handled their own members' burials. And of course, there may not have been very much room in smaller churches. So that was how it started. Of course, all of those early founders died, and their descendants may have moved. They died also. And so the Friends of Odd Fellows was incorporated probably in the 1980s, 1990s. One of the very important members to found that, of course, was Henry Stepp, but I understand, I was not here at the time, that Nelson Malloy also got involved. And at the time, Nelson was a city council member or an alderman. So we're very grateful to his service as well. And the Friends has been working ever since, trying to get that location clean. For the old folks who know about it, it was a forest. And we've gotten a lot of, we've made a lot of headway in the front section. I would say the front third, but there's still some trees and forest looking areas out there and weeds. So again, we are grateful when anybody and everybody comes out to help. Unfortunately, with COVID, we have missed our last 3 King Day of Service events. We always have an annual event on Dr. King's birthday, always well attended, maybe as many as 100 people or more. We weren't able to do that in 20. We were not able to do it in 21, nor this year in 22. So we're kind of like 3 years behind. But we will be having an on-site program, weather permitting and COVID permitting, in April. And we will definitely get that information to you. And yes, Mr. Patterson, we will be thrilled to work with the Black Chamber of Commerce. I'll be calling you. So I hope you don't mind.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Mary, did you have something to say?
Oh, Linda, I do have a question. It's a repeat. Could Cliff tell us again how the Buffalo Soldiers got their name? I know he already told the story, but I was distracted, and it's such an interesting name. I just want to hear those details again. Could we get him to repeat that?
Sure.
Great.
So I went over just 2 stories. So one of them is that the Native Americans thought that their hair resembled buffalo fur. So that's where, Buffalo Soldiers comes from. And then another one is that their bravery and ferocity on the battlefield reminded the Native Americans of how the buffalo fought. So the name was given to them as a sign of respect by the Plains Native Americans.
Oh, that's really a story.
And initially, I had wanted to play the song, which you might be familiar with, Buffalo Soldiers by Bob Marley. But of course, I'm not that technical, so I didn't, want it to sound crazy. But there's a line in there where it says, Buffalo soldiers, stolen from Africa, Buffalo soldiers brought to America. And I just thought it was so interesting that this man from Jamaica probably knew more about the Buffalo Soldiers than we did when he produced that song. So I thought that was very interesting. And if you get a chance, just
let's get Siri to sing Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah, just go to Google or wherever and listen to it, listen to the lyrics. It's amazing.
Could you mention the day in April where you're having the work day?
It will probably be mid-April. We have to consider Easter. If you will send me your email, I will put you on our mailing list. And at that program, we hope to have the actual Buffalo Soldiers from Charlotte. Mr. Wilkinson, are you still on? Would you be
Yes,
able
I
to
am.
bring the horses and come out in uniform at that time?
I will try to see if we can get him to bring the horses. I don't have one myself, but I have to ask the members that ride who have horses if they can. But as far as coming out with the uniform, I can do that.
When you do have men who come out on horseback, what do they do? Do they have some type of demonstration?
Well, we can do the colors. Is that what you, basically, if with a thing like that, we would present the colors on horseback.
Great.
But if you want us to come out and do a demonstration, we can do that also.
Well, I think it would be good if we get young people out at that time, because many young people have never seen a horse up close in person. So.
Well, I can't promise, but I'll do the best I can.
Right. Because, you know, we're in the era of the scooters and electric cars and all this other stuff. And, you know, maybe some youngsters don't know people used to get around in a horse and buggy and on horseback. So I think that would be a great thing to do. But I will be in touch with you about that.
Okay. I'll be looking forward to hear from you.
And anyone, if you have any questions in the future, you see my email there. Just send me an email and I will get back to you.
We have plenty of grass for the horses to eat, by the way.
And if you have goats, Linda, you want to talk about the goats?
That's true. We actually, in the past years, have had goats to come and eat the kudzu. A lot of the kudzu is gone. Greg, is there any kudzu left?
I'm sorry. You asking me? I'm sorry.
Are there any kudzu areas left?
There's still some strands of kudzu that crisscross the cemetery, but we've been able to remove quite a bit of it, but it's not totally eradicated. So there's still some kudzu out there that'll probably show its face here in the spring. But probably the most of it we've been able to cut so it doesn't climb into the trees or over the headstones. So we're very happy with that.
Yeah, we've had goats in there before. The problem with goats nowadays, because we have planted grass and we also have started planting flowers and doing some landscaping. So we don't want the goats to eat that. And which brings me to another point. I see Steve Dunn there. Steve was very nice to one day sit down and draw a scene over near one of our other special military men. And I can't think of his name right now. But at any rate, Morris Slaughter. And there was a veteran post named after him, the Morris Slaughter post. Well, Steve drew this beautiful scene. We have been selling it. Mary, do you have a copy of it handy? And if you do not, no problem.
I don't, but I certainly will the next time we have this program.
Very good idea.
Yes.
Steve donated that. We have reproduced them. He has signed them. So we have a signed and numbered print for anyone who wants to purchase one for $20. We will have them so that we'll have one so that you can see it at our next presentation, but it is a beautiful, beautiful scene. And we're planting a veteran reflection garden in that one specific area. There's a lot of yucca plants in that area. We did not plant those. They've been there. So some of them may be 100 years old. And we do know that yucca was very important to the Native Americans, to people of Caribbean descent, and also people of African descent as well. So that is part of the natural landscape. We did not plant any yucca plants. Okay, well, it's after 2:30.
Linda, may I throw in another comment, Linda? This is
go right ahead.
One little comment. And 100% of the proceeds from the signed, dated prints, signed and numbered prints, goes to the restoration of the cemetery. It's a fundraiser for the cemetery.
And if everybody can look at Lisa Stockton, I see she's holding up a print, or she had a print. Do you still have yours, Lisa? Yeah, there it is. Can you get it closer to the camera?
It's not focusing very well.
Okay, it's a beautiful print though.
Yeah, it's in a frame so the glare off the glass.
Okay. The last announcement that I have is from Salem Town Retirement Center. And they have a diversity group called the Salem Town Inclusion Group, or SIG, S-I-G. They meet on the 4th Thursday of every month at noon. And they have a program called Let's Have Lunch. So if you're interested in that, again, you can send me your email. I will send you the information. And if Miss Bearfield is still on, can you explain your program coming up? The Let's Have Lunch program? She may have had to leave.
Here, I just had to unmute myself.
Okay, there you are.
Okay, here I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's the SIG group that meets quarterly on the 4th Thursday of the month, and this month we are looking at diversity in the sense of bias and things that have happened in the past, things that are happening now, and how we can be a part of making this better in our community, making our community a better place to live, a more diverse place and a more caring place. And what we do is we have different groups. We've had the Hispanic League speak. We're going to be looking at poverty. And we started out by looking at the terms diversity and all of the things that go with it, with bias and so forth. And this month, on the 4th Thursday, we are looking at the Black community and what has happened in the past and what has happened in the present and what we would like to see happen. And we are asking a panel of African American members of the community to speak. We are a group of Salem Town residents, but we are also a group of community residents that are getting together quarterly. And we invite you to join us. And if you would like to join us, you can either send your information to Linda or you can send it to me. My email, my name is Ann Bearfield, as you can see on the screen. It's abearfield@triad.rr.com. And I will be glad to send you the password to get into the Zoom meeting on the 4th Thursday to be part of this meeting. And Linda has agreed to be one of our representatives on the panel this time, and she's going to bring someone else with her. So I don't know who that is yet, but we are looking forward to that, and we will have other members of our community who will be talking with us and educating us about what happens, what has happened, is happening, and what we want to happen.
Okay, thank you so much. So it is 2:39. We know that Saturdays are very busy days. We don't want to hold people up. Cliff, thank you so much. You've done a great job. You certainly have helped us come into the 21st century because, we don't know all this stuff. So at this time, we will close. And again, thank you so much for supporting us today and supporting us in the past. And we will see you again, hopefully, February 22nd, right here at 2 p.m. So everybody have a great day and don't freak out if we get snow again on Sunday. Bye-bye.